Today I'm showing you how to make lobster mac and cheese better than anybody else on the internet. We're topping it with fried lobster. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. All right guys, if we're talking mac and cheese, you gotta start with the cheese, and it's very important to find flavor balance. So we have sharp cheddar, we have Colby Jack, we got mozzarella, we got Parmesan. You don't wanna use all smoky or all sharp cheeses. You want something mild and cheesy like mozzarella. Colby Jack is mild, but it has some flavor and it melts nicely. Great to top your mac and cheese. The sharp cheddar is gonna bring the punch, and the Parmesan is gonna add a little saltiness, a little extra element of flavor. Great blend right here. If you're using 4 cheeses, this is the way to go. For me, I like to grate my own cheese because the store-bought stuff has anti-caking agents, things like potato starch that prevent it from clumping up at the store, which is nice, but it also prevents your cheese sauce from being nice and smooth. So if you ever had a clumpy mac and cheese or something that felt gritty, it's because they use store-bought mac or store-bought cheese. So today we're gonna grate our own cheese, a little bit of elbow grease, never hurt nobody. Nice forearm workout. Grate your own cheese and you will be thankful that you did when you taste the end product. All right guys, so right now we have the water boiling for the noodles. Today we're using Cavatappi, you can use elbow, whatever noodle you want really. For the flavor enhancers, we got lobster base, which is really gonna bring home the seafood flavor. We have some fresh lobster tail here that we're gonna fry and plate up beautifully. And then we have some pre-cooked lobster claw and knuckle meat. We also have some shallot, which I like to use for this recipe. Totally optional, you don't have to add it. But it adds a little bit of, honestly, I don't know what it adds, but it adds a little bit of elegance in my opinion. It's like the onion's sexier cousin. And then it adds a little bit of texture to the roux. The shallot's got a hint of sweetness, a little bite like an onion flavor. If you're not familiar with shallots, make yourself familiar. I'm a big fan when it comes to sauces, cheese sauce, Alfredo, things of that nature. Even like salad vinaigrettes. That's a nice little addition. So we're gonna dice up 2 shallots. We're gonna add some garlic to the roux as well. And we're gonna make it as flavorful as we can because we're making lobster mac and cheese, and if you're gonna spend the money on lobster, you gotta go all out. All right guys, so for today, we're gonna plate this up with some fried lobster. We have a relatively large lobster tail here. We'll use some sharp scissors to cut down the back of the lobster. And then I'm gonna use a nice sharp knife to finish the job. So basically what I'm doing is cutting the lobster in half. We're gonna remove any vein, clean it up. So today we're using buttermilk, whole fat preferably. I mean, we're making lobster mac and cheese, no need to cut no corners. Whole fat buttermilk, we're gonna add a little hot sauce. If you're using regular all-purpose flour, then feel free to season this up to your liking. I'm using my seasoned flour, which is heavily seasoned, and I don't wanna overdo it. So I'm leaving, we'll let the buttermilk do its job, dump it in the seasoned flour, and then fry it at 350 until it hits 145 degrees internal temperature. All right guys, so now it's time to make the roux for the mac and cheese. I'm a roux guy, not really an egg guy. Argue about it in the comments. We got about a half stick of butter in here. To that, we're gonna add 2 diced shallots. We're gonna saute that, let that sweat down, get nice and tender. Once it gets tender, we're gonna add that lobster base, which is gonna elevate the seafood flavor quite a bit. It's got, you know, honestly, it has a lot of sodium in it. So you wanna be kind of careful about the additional seasoning that you add if you're using the lobster base. So make sure you season towards the end after you taste as you go and adjust to your preference. But the lobster flavor, you can't beat it. So it's a nice trade-off. They do have low sodium versions out there, so you can grab that. Once the shallot begins to cook down, after a minute or 2, we're going in with about a teaspoon of that lobster base we spoke about. Again, tremendous seafood flavor being added with that. It's from a company called Better Than Bouillon. High quality ingredients. Smells amazing. It's always pretty fresh, and you just can't beat it. All right, so now we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of garlic. I'm using garlic paste because that's what we got in the fridge. You can use fresh if you want. Squeeze it like a toothpaste tube. Work that in. And then it's time to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, which is effectively gonna make your roux. Kind of cook it until that raw flour taste is dissipated, which you can kind of judge by not seeing any white specks in the flour. So you want to kind of cook it until everything kind of becomes the same color, which is like that orangish color from the lobster base. That's going to help thicken everything up for your consistency for your cheese sauce. At this point, we're going in with 2 cups of heavy cream. And then 1 cup of half and half. We're going to bring that to a boil and whisk it until all of the lumps from the roux incorporate into the sauce. All right, so once it comes up to a boil, you should notice that it's thickening up nicely. That's from the roux. Then we're going to reduce the heat to a simmer. I'm going to add a little bit of sour cream for texture purposes, about a 1/4 cup. It's also going to kind of cut out a little bit of the sharpness from all the cheese we're about to add, but it's going to add a nice texture, nice creaminess to the overall consistency of the cheese sauce. And now we're going to start slowly incorporating the cheese. So one of the main mistakes people make when they make mac and cheese is they add the cheese when it's piping hot, when it's at a rolling boil. And what happens is the high temperature makes the fat separate from the cheese, and it'll get oily and pool at the top. So if you ever had a very oily mac and cheese, that's what happened. Today we're not doing that. We're going to add a little cheese at a time, whisking constantly until our cheese sauce forms the consistency we're looking for. Then we're going to taste and season accordingly. All right, guys, so once the cheese sauce has reached the desired consistency and flavor profile when it comes to seasoning, it's time to add in your pre-cooked lobster. You could make the lobster from scratch if you want to. Go ahead and cook up some lobster tails or a whole lobster. But if you live near a Wegmans or a Harris Teeter or a Kroger, a lot of times you get the pre-cooked lobster, about the same price, minimal effort. Go ahead and mix that in. And then we're going to add our pasta to this. And it's time to bake the mac and cheese. All right, people, we have the mac and cheese in the oven, 400 degrees, about 20 minutes until it's golden brown and beautiful on top. Now it's time to go ahead and fry our lobster tail. This is where you go from good to great. So what we're doing right now is taking our buttermilk brine lobster tail and coating it in this wonderfully seasoned flour that you can get at mrmakeithappen.com. And we're going to make sure it's coated evenly. And then we're going to deep fry it at 350 degrees until it reaches 145 degrees internal temperature. And then we're going to place that on top of our lobster mac and cheese for a beautiful presentation. You really can't beat this right here. It's a little bit expensive, so maybe make it for your sweetheart. Don't make it for the guests that you don't really like, that you want to kick out your house before they're ready to leave. Great date night option. Something for Mother's Day, Father's Day, something like that. But this is what you want to see right here. Nicely breaded, good color, flash fried at 350. It fries up in about 3 to 5 minutes. All right, guys, so the oil is up to 350 degrees. We're going to go ahead and drop the lobster tail right on into that oil. It's not going to take long to fry. You're looking for 145 degrees internal temperature, probably 4 to 5 minutes. All right, guys, we went ahead and plated this up with a beautifully fried lobster tail, and this is the part where I say brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys. Looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in for the taste test. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, guys, moment of truth. Let's get ourselves a little money shot, if you will. Plenty of lobster. Plenty of cheese, and the end result is magic. And now, my friends, it's time for the moment of truth, aka my favorite part of the job. We got lobster mac and cheese on the menu today. Best job in the world. Piping hot though.
Go see if I'm recording. Go see if it's recording.
Yeah, recording.